time and the penny drops. Did you straight up just click live when I was in what the dude? Yeah. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I knew you and your damn Subway sandwich hat. You suck.
Because that was what you were saying was gold.
Yeah,
well, I really like that.
I like to think that it normally is. But fine. Welcome to Iwards and Upwards Sneak Attack, people. I'm Ruby Slippers. That sneaky son of a bitch is Ivan.
No, I was listening to you, and I really liked what you were saying. And we're about 5 minutes late, and I thought, why don't we just start this episode this way?
Why don't we do that without even saying anything? Yeah. For those, I don't know. We will find out later exactly at which point when I was speaking, it started feeding to you lovely public. But what I was speaking to Ivan about was just kind of recapping his Ivanologue, his most recent episode. And one of the things that I found helpful or continue to find helpful in how he expresses himself is, yes, there are some themes or maybe pillars or tenets of his vision for how football should be played or what's going on at Wrexham AFC. But I really like how not only, is it a consistent message, but he words things each time or adds a little bit of information or puts a little twist on it that to me is perceived as a different delivery. And we have a lot of different people who absorb information in different ways, who are different types of learners. And I have certainly learned in my life when I spend a lot of my time communicating. You would never guess, would you? You would never guess that, right?
No.
That I talk a lot.
What are you talking about?
But sometimes changing the words, even if it's the same concept, or changing the way that you paint the picture of the context can make a penny drop with someone who the other 6 times maybe it didn't. And what I find communication to be very important. And that's not just putting out a message that you feel is clear and concise. Communication only occurs when the message that was sent is received in the way that it was intended. And that's part of why you and I have some back and forth on this stream, is because I hear the message you're putting out, let's say, and I go through my head and think, okay, I either have a question, being so new to the sport, or I think if somebody's watching who doesn't hang out with us all the time, not just even on the stream, but in our real lives, right? How might I have a question if I was not Ruby, right? So I appreciate that dynamic too, when you explain things, even if they seem to be the same topics, they're still relevant, but there's different ways to continue to make them fresh. And again, if it's word choice, people are audio learners or visual learners or what. I appreciate the different ways you can package things, because I think it makes it more inclusive for folks to be able to understand where you're coming from. And it's not just the, misinterpretation of everything is negative, because it's not, because you talk about truths. Things have been accomplished. There have been achievements when speaking in terms of Wrexham. And yes, those things are fact, and you're not denying that. You're not saying that didn't happen, but you don't have the same view of its worth, with what you care about versus what someone like me, a new fan who's new to the sport, relatively new to the club, going through these events that I've seen on the documentary, that I now have friendships with folks who are veteran fans and invested in this club for sometimes decades, and feeling connected in what is a historic moment, regardless, is going to be different than what you see as a long-term investment plan for a club that you really wish were being maximized more in its potential. So yeah, folks, that's kind of in a nutshell, more or less, what I said to this guy backstage before he just flipped the switch and wherever I was in that complimentary, soliloquy.
It was perfect. It was perfect. And
I'm like, what a way
no,
to start your
thank
day.
you. Thank you so much. No, I mean it's those kind words are well, it's flattering, and I appreciate it. That means that I actually I'm doing my job, so to speak. And you were saying that I sigh a lot. So yeah, because I try to yeah.
I don't think you noticed in that one there were several times where you were exhaling and you were just to get ready to breathe in again. So I really don't think you were conscious of it, but I was like, oh, this man
Yeah.
is thinking, and he's thinking how tired he is about about this
So,
situation that isn't changing.
yeah. Look, actually, before we carry on, Nick, how are you, buddy? Nick Donovan is here, and while you were
Hi,
talking,
Nick.
I saw his mom and I just saw his comment pop up, and then I was trying to bring it up on my screen because I'm streaming on the phone, and I accidentally, for some reason, pushed a button that brought up a weird promo, which says "new to streaming or looking to level up." Check out StreamYard and get $10 discount. So whatever I pushed there, I did not mean to push it, but yes, we are
The
using.
first thing that you said sounded like you had seen Nick's mom, and I was real excited for like 1 nanosecond that Nick had brought his mom to the stream, and that we had two people, and that she was a fan.
I am sure I would be very happy to see Nick's mom. So yeah,
I bet
look,
she's awesome.
yeah. Look, but anyway, let's carry on. Do you have, Ruby? Do you have a means of watching our stream through YouTube right now so that you can see comments coming, or not?
Oh no, when I'm backstage, no. I mean, maybe
No.
my technology has that capacity. When I'm backstage, I just have the private chat that I can see. And I think if I brought up YouTube on a different device, or maybe I don't know how to split it on my laptop, but then, and I turned off the sound, then maybe I could do it. But I just trust you. It's not like, I need to moderate the flood of.
Can you see the comments right now on the
Yeah, I
screen?
can see the one you clicked.
Yeah, there you go.
All love to Nick's mom. All love to Nick's mom. That is fucking awesome. And I mean, I'm not going to say that also in that nanosecond that my ADHD mind, going at light speed, hadn't already thought, I wonder if there's some sort of treats that might be involved. Not to just assign, sexist stereotypes to genders, but, the last time I remember people's moms being an issue when I was a kid, some of them made stuff like snacks and things that my mom didn't or wasn't good at. And I thought for a moment, what kind of treats might we get if Nick's mom's a fan? Do we get like Rice Krispie treats? Do we get cookies? But then again, my brain caught up real fast and no, that is not what Ivan said. And there will be no cookies. There will be no treats or snacks. Probably protein bars. Ugh.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm a bit slow this early morning. So but let's get to the agenda of the episode, eh?
Okay.
Just to sort of break the ice here, everybody was so pumped about the win, the 2-0 against what are they, Blackpool?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I
which is great.
is like the Las Vegas of the UK. Does that sound right to you? As a place where
it's the seashore,
and
right?
Amusement parks and okay.
Yeah. It's I mean, I've never been there, so
maybe.
But from what I understand, that's where people go to.
All I knew is the ballroom dance competitions and stuff. They have an international ballroom, and I thought, oh, the first time I heard about it, people going to go see the dancing? No, I guess there's so many other things to do.
Yeah,
including that spire that looks kind of like the Seattle Space Needle crossed with the Eiffel Tower. I'm not sure what it is, but I saw it in a lot of pictures. So it must be a significant landmark.
Yeah, well, I think that's the ultimate destination for sort of sea holiday kind of a thing. And
well, then it must be super crowded and touristy.
Yeah, no, it's one of those destinations where I think would be like a lot of people were saying that that could be the promotion securing location for the team this year, and everybody was excited about getting drunk.
So the spirits were
But
already high, and then you're going
yeah,
to a festive kind of location anyway.
uh-huh.
That could
That's
step it up,
that's what it was.
and then somebody showed up.
Yeah, and then it didn't work out. So yeah, but no, what I was saying is that yeah, the a lot of people were really excited about that, and happy about the performance, and everybody was saying how the team. Oh crap! Yeah, there we go. Yeah, because this is just so uncomfortable when you're doing it from your phone. I don't understand.
I believe you.
Yeah, but Carol in HR is here, and it's been a while. It's been a while. Hello, Hunter. Great to see you. And what we got here, I will just
There
work
you
with
go.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. It just feel like everything.
got that feeling.
I got it. Yeah, yeah.
But go ahead,
Yes,
Evan. Tell us how the people who felt good
I
about Blackpool maybe shouldn't feel.
the and everybody kind of forgets the fact that we were playing for Blackpool itself. It was more of a nothing game, really. And like from the way they played, I watched bits and pieces, not live, but later on. Like you, and I remember myself playing back in the day when your season is done and you're kind of mid-table. It's more of a like don't get injured before the before the off season kind of vibe. And yeah, I mean, Wrexham had everything to play for, and they pretty much had nothing to play for. So we have to remember that. And going into the final couple of games, well, what Hunter is saying that everything is set up for tomorrow. Uh, I got zero predictions for tomorrow. Like I have no clue what's gonna happen. It can be a loss, it can be a win, it can be a draw, and there are scenarios like in looking at the performance this season and the way we play, the structural consistency, planning, performance indicators, they all fail to offer reliable forecasts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I like
Like
that reliable forecast. Okay.
We have that experience now over the last few years, actually, where in such cases as we have, outcomes depends less on, I'd say, a deliberate strategy and more on those variables that are probabilistic in nature.
Mm-hmm.
And we call it luck, we call it other names, but there is no single factor, past performance, system design, uh, the behavior of the players, the performance of the participants, let's say, on the day, the system, the way the system is set up, or lack of it. Nothing provides a dependable basis for prediction.
Mm-hmm.
And the situation effectively becomes chaotic.
Oh, absolutely. Because when I think of it, my inability I of course am hopeful. I hope they do well. I hope they show up. I do have concerns about, the consequences of going up, but, especially with, the world being the way it is right now, having something to rally behind, even if I'm not as emotionally invested in promotion because of what I see as being, complicated consequences associated with that. There are people who I care about deeply, and this team, it's their goal, So if you're going to be a supporter, again, not one that is blindly loyal, as you mentioned in the Ivanologue, but it's hard not to get caught up in the not so much excitement, but the excitement, I'm hopeful that they will do well. I hope they achieve something. I understand the history with the club is pretty rocky when it comes to playoffs, even though I've never experienced a playoff. So, it's not, the story isn't over if we don't deliver tomorrow, ultimately. But exactly like you said, in a much better way, because it only sounds oxymoronic when I say that it's hard for me to predict, because historically we have been predictably unpredictable, right? And that just doesn't come across as well as some of the terms that you're able to convey that same concept with. Like, I don't know how to feel because we have no solid foundation upon which to build an informed and educated forecast. It's the magic 8 ball. Like, okay, how are we going to do today? Hopefully outlook is good.
Yes. Yeah. And look, spot on. Under these conditions, the forecast decisions are made with essentially incomplete information. The margin of error for these kind of forecasts, with every game we play, that margin of error increases substantially. And then success in the next given game or failure in the next given game hinge on external factors and unrepeatable moments. Mm-hmm. Lucky card, lucky penalty, injured player, early red, lucky hoof.
Or the inverse, where it weird us of those exact same things.
That term that I was using over and over again before, we don't have the X factor. We don't have a systematic approach that emphasizes and guarantees a repeatable and replicable ways of executing a certain approach that brings results. Up until recently, I thought that the only thing that had us going was that unwavering commitment from the players and something, that's ram-like stubbornness at smashing at the gates over and over again. And I gave you that analogy of, okay, when one ram dies, we bring another one and we carry on ramming them gates. But Mr. McLean just recently said that the team felt a little bit complacent. And I did suspect that over a few games ago, that I said that, the team is playing psyched, and you always have that wave of, okay, we're playing on the high, then we're going on the low. The team is very inconsistent now from the mental point of view too, because you can see that they are vulnerable over the season to emotional changes as well. And that, again, that comes from lack of strategic and tactical approach to the performances. So Ivan,
they've still got less than 24 hours. They could turn this shit around.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe they will, maybe they won't. But we're not talking about a sustainable operating environment here. It's a transitional environment. We can define it. We can define it by uncertainty, limited control, the very high exposure to variance.
Oh yeah. Well, or susceptibility, not just the exposure, but vulnerability to impact of those variables.
Well, to me, like what it comes right now to setting my expectations for the end of the season is rational approach. We have to recognize the constraints of the system, okay, and the limitations of the setup, mm-hmm, and we have to act accordingly without overestimating internal influence for the outcomes. Let's put it this way. Basically, in the layman's terms, fuck knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
To simplify the matters, that's exactly what's happening, and that what you get with managers like Parkinson is they are motivators. They talk big in the dressing room, but the thing is that their pep talks stop working after a while, because it becomes white noise. So we really are at the mercy of players. That's why he always talks about bringing in experienced players and whatnot, and that's what we're going to see whether we get promoted or not, because nothing is going to change. We are at the mercy of a bunch of individuals. So it's like conducting a let's say a platoon element attack on the position of an enemy, where you don't have anything to go by apart from reliance on individual performances of each soldier and section commander or squad leader in that particular moment, and just saying, okay, these guys are veterans, they've been through many battles, and hopefully this time around they will make good decisions in the split of a second under pressure within set up circumstances. So there is no planning from the platoon commander whatsoever. It's just general understanding of where the enemy is. Figure it out as you go.
Which is not ideal. I mean, given the choice, one can't minimize risk that way. One can't look at options to maximize success within that kind of context. It is a very real world situation that folks can find themselves in beyond sport, right? But I think we can all agree that few people, other than absolute thrill seekers who want to challenge themselves, in a moment, would choose, especially if they were responsible for the other people involved on the team, would choose that environment to approach a problem or a mission, because you can't be prepared for everything. You can't be ready, especially if you've got new people who are inexperienced. You can't possibly make the decisions for all of them. If you're leading from the front, see what they're doing behind you. And you have no way of eliminating some of the possibilities. And doing one thing to prepare sometimes is exact opposite of another thing that you should prepare for. So it's just, it could be stressful.
Yeah, look, on one hand, it provides many possibilities for all sorts of unpredictable improvisations, and something absolutely magnificent and brilliant in the moment that can surprise the adversary as much as it surprises you. On the other hand, you have something that is completely uncontrollable and lacks the basic structure, such as support by fire, flanking maneuver, resupply lines, like all that boring stuff that comes with tactics and strategies. Who needs that when we're just going to rely on
they don't put that on the Navy SEAL recruiting poster? What? That's not sexy? Making sure you have MREs or transport, what?
No? Yeah. So again, it's gonna be entertaining. Well, not really, because the way the team plays is very hard to watch, but it's gonna be entertaining in the anticipation of the result, I reckon. But if I was to go for a prediction, I'd say the draw will be my number one. Next one is probably a loss. And the win, unfortunately, will be only my sort of probability number 3.
Okay. What is it about this side how much of that is dependent upon us and how we play, and how much of that is influenced by your knowledge of the side that we'll be up against?
We are completely at the mercy of the opposition, and the entire season has been that way. The games that we play are not, we dictate nothing. We dictate literally nothing. It's all about how the opposition chooses to play against us.
Well, and I think that's a good point, because when you talk about people who are happy with the results of the Blackpool game, I, of course, was one of them. And just that, it was the James McLean show. And that's always a great day for me. But I did hear some people speak about having control of the match, which I didn't see as much. It's not the phraseology I would have used exactly. But when you put into context your observation of the orange team we were up against weren't in top gear. They weren't playing to beat us within an inch of our lives, right? That kind of takes away from the argument that, hey, not only, yes, there was tremendous enthusiasm from the stands. The 12th man showed up for sure at Blackpool. And that enthusiasm is contagious, that it even came through the television, not just within the grounds. But for folks who were pleased, I wonder, besides, myself, how much that could also have been relief in that we hadn't completely lost everything yet, or that unpredictability. I really need to find a word, because stress is the only one I'm coming up with. Not knowing this absolute lottery, the bingo cage that we talked about before for each match of what the results are going to be, causes anxiety. And when it goes your way, you might be extra happy that it's not a loss because you never know what to expect.
I think this is a perfect segue from this. Right now, we're in that vague state of not knowing what to expect. We had a couple of questions that can tie in really good to that.
Questions.
First one was about the players. That was the second question, but let's start with the second question. Okay. It was about the players, whether, if we get promoted, what kind of players we're going to be looking for, and will there be a certain change in approach to the way we play? And
we know the answer to that one, right?
Can you bring this question up? Do you have your phone with you?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because I've sent you a screenshot just to sort of recite it word by word.
I reorganized my phone to have me spend less time on social media, which has been effective. Okay, let me find it. Is it? Okay, well, the one I have here is, did I send that to you? Oh, here we go. Okay, will management be in an active pursuit to try to get players who will play a different style than Parkinson plays now? And that's from Mardi Gras.
Right.
Is that the one you meant?
Yes, that's the one I meant. So whether the team gets promoted or not, the recruitment logic will change. It will not change in the philosophy and general approach, but it will change in player profile quality. Let's put it this way.
Okay.
It will change within the contract scale. The financial risk exposure is going to increase. Okay. And based on the current trends, there will be a continuation of the existing model. So nothing will change from that point of view, whether in the championship or another year in League One. It will just be scaled up. So Phil Parkinson will not change from his 3-5-2 rigid ways, unless the ownership forces him to change, which I doubt. The emphasis on direct play will stay. The emphasis on physicality will stay. The use of wingbacks, kick and chase approach, and second ball pressure to win will stay. The club, keeping all those things in consideration, the club will likely seek players who already fit that kind of model, but they will look to get them closer to the championship level in, first of all, in physicality, in athleticism, and individual performance. So what I think the likely stereotypical profile of a player who's going to be targeted for next year, regardless whether it's League One or Championship, will be, let's say, defenders who are physically dominant. Okay. They are comfortable playing in back three. They are comfortable playing hoofball, because hoofball is going to carry on. So he'll be just looking on somebody who can kick the ball further longer with a bit more accuracy. Those people will need to be proven in Championship or top League One, because I sure hope they're not going to go for insane contracts from Premier League.
Well, I mean, they haven't necessarily shown that, as a past precedent yet.
Yeah, well, because that's how you end up in a situation like Reading, for example, if you do that. So I hope that they have enough sense not to do that, but it will be more of a sort of solid championship level or top League One level. Midfielders are, again, looking for high work rate, for pressing ability to force the turnovers, not creators. The midfielders are what Parkinson wants their midfielders to do is to win 50-50s, win duels, okay, rather than dictate any kind of tempo or strategical or tactical approach to the game. So don't set up patterns. They win duels. That's why, when I talk about the team of destroyers and castrated football and one-dimensional football, that's like I'm just breaking those things down like one by one.
Sure.
And that's what we can expect more of. That's the type of players that are going to come back.
Last in the Ivanologue, you brought up that besides what defenders are actually supposed to do is be the start of an attack. And I thought that was an interesting point. So let's say that we even had defenders who could do that. If they hit a midfield that is not equipped to translate or permitted to translate that as it should up the field into producing what would be an attack, then it kind of doesn't matter
so
as much.
Just to explain that relationship, what you're saying is actually very good. It brings me to the next point. The relationship between the defense and the midfield, we completely lack positive relationship with defense to midfield. Positive relationship meaning the ball doesn't move from the back line to the middle line. That doesn't happen. The ball moves. So that's why I was saying before, and when we hoof the ball up to the top third, we prefer to lose the ball there and let midfield win the ball in the middle of the pitch, and that's how the ball gets to the midfield. That's our approach. We do not have positive relationship between defense and midfield. We skip the midfield on the way up, and then we try to hold the ball on the way down. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and that's the type of players that Parkinson will have to bring in more, because
like
that's the only
an inefficient use of just things like energy. If you're not even bringing in anything else and you look at them as though they were a machine, if it was a factory, you would correct that, because to send it one direction, to bring it back, to then attempt to bring it to the ultimate spot is inefficient just from a movement standpoint.
In his mind, it is efficient because when you lack, again, we're going to the buzzwords, when you lack creativity, when you lack the patterns of play, your only chance to develop something meaningful is to catch the other team with their pants down on a counter attack, because direct style of play encompasses quick movement from point A to point B, and that is best performed when you provide pressure, win the duel as close to the opposition goal as possible, and deliver a quick ball into the free area and let your wing backs chase it. That's why we're so reliant on crosses. That's why we don't attack through the center, because center is usually populated by any team who is defending in any kind of a low block or organized manner. So what we prefer to do is to cause a turnover and then execute on that turnover as soon as possible. But because we are skipping the midfield of ours every game, and the stronger the opposition is, the more we skip the midfield. That's why we find it so hard to predict the results, because our brain subconsciously doesn't capture any kind of build-up patterns in our game. The only thing that we see is a long ball going up front, and then it's a gamble. That's why this episode is called The Season on the Edge of Dice. It's a roll of dice. In my monologue, I gave an example of a roulette. We keep on spinning that roulette. We keep on throwing those dice and see what comes up. So you know what I mean? So I'm going again. I'm like in the weeds.
So for me, what I'm getting from what you're saying is it's going to become, if we go up or even if we stay, because obviously all the other teams that remain in League One will have had in a season to study us, and have played us at home and away. But what I hear,
they already know us.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's not a secret, but that, everything helps when you've had reps, it won't be as intimidating or think that it's not good for us. We're not going to have necessarily better chances taking out new players or whatnot of us going through a League One again with predominantly the same teams. But what I'm hearing from your talk about the movement of the ball and the dynamics, it makes me realize that it's going to become even more crucial in that little space of time from when it goes from the mid back to the front in a very short period of time, which a very short space, of yards or meters. And we know that time is distance, right? Correct. If our competition gets better, either from knowing us or they get better players, or we go up, God forbid, and we're in the championship with what I understand to be a completely other class of players in general, I would become even more concerned about how are we going to recruit where we have people with the kind of speed where we're talking fractions of seconds to be able to create moments in that tiny spot between middle and front and one pass or the other that we are building opportunities off of by building loosely. But what I'm hearing from you say is that we have a very small moment where we can take advantage of the other people when they're trying to catch up because they're playing a system and a format. But that gap is going to get narrower. And if we don't get faster to fit into that narrower slot, then we can't keep winning the way we're doing it, which you have been saying for a long time, right? But this makes it a very specific spot that manifests all of it. Like the
That's why I'm saying that getting promoted, in my opinion, is the worst thing that can happen, is because I'd rather wait for the approach change in League One than an extreme dumpster fire train wreck plane going down in flames in Championship. Because fixing something in League One, at least we're not risking being relegated. Fixing something in the Championship, that's a risk of being relegated, guaranteed, like by default. So that's what it is. And whether they go up or not, I'm not talking about this right now. I'm talking about more of a from the logical point of view. All right. So, but for example, if we talk about you asking what are we going to be looking for in the recruitment, what kind of players we if we're going to keep on playing that approach. Well, let's talk about wing backs. In order to generate that chaos that will bring us the chances, that what we're talking about is basically we're relying on causing a brief moment of chaos where no system works because the ball is just bouncing around. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that head tennis, that hoofball, all it does, it generates the moment of chaos which we are poaching on. And that's why people say we play thin margins. I said it before, and that's what it is. It's trying to squeeze the moment of brilliance out of a almost intentionally caused moment of chaos. Okay, so we're not.
So that's making it tougher for both sides, but hoping that you're going to come out on top.
Let's throw a grenade into a bunker where there is a bunch of friendlies and opposition, and see who catches most frag. So that's exactly what it is. So with the wingbacks, we will need to get very fast and highly endurance-based players.
So younger James McLeans, which are just thick on the ground, huh?
Yeah.
And exactly. Cheap. I bet they're cheap too.
Yep. And we're looking at the very rare combination of both 50-50 attacking and defensive-minded players.
Okay. So
usually with the winger, people who are called natural wingers, they're more attacking-based players. Okay. They think more attack, they move forward. Think about sort of old-school wingers that, every time they receive the ball, they try to push it further down the wing. Okay, but what we are looking for is somebody like James McLean who can do both. The problem is that with players like that, they cannot perform consistently through entire season. You need at least two of them, and on top of that, what Parky does is he doesn't sub them out early. So they play the entire game, they get really run down, And usually, if you play like I played on the teams where, and I saw the teams being developed with heavy reliance on wings. In this case, you have two relatively equal people on both sides, and then you play them 50-50 because those are the ones who will go down first. Those are the ones who get exhausted first. Your wingers, your wingbacks, they have to run the most usually in the informations and systems like that. So that's a huge challenge. When it comes for let's talk about strikers again. Large target man. They going back to big and the little. That's why he plays that. We need to win that aerial 50-50 duel. When the ball goes up and high, hence the need for the big, and it will stay there. So there will be somebody big, and there will be one, let's call him mobile finisher. So somebody who can run, get a layoff from the hold up forward, from the big guy, run and poach on the opportunity, and have a good chance on a goal. So
well, gee, when you say it like that, I mean, it sounds pretty nice. Well, okay. I mean, what you're doing is explaining the logic behind this approach. It's not an approach you agree with. It's not a style that you approve of or think is appropriate for the space. But what you have done is...
I have to correct you. I agree with that approach, but I do not agree with that approach being the only one.
Okay, fair. It is a legitimate one, but we shouldn't be dependent upon it as our only plan.
Like in forever.
Yes,
like literally, we don't have any.
We don't have a plan B. We don't have a plan C. We only have this. So, okay, you are not opposed to this if we drop it in, mix it up, but we have to have something other than this be our answer to everything. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a very legitimate approach. And sometimes, so that kind of approach works against a foul. So that's what drives me insane when I look at the team that we got in League One. One of the best teams in League One history. Insane amount of talent. Insane amount of good players. And we play as if we're one of the weakest teams.
Oh, that's sad.
It's that kind of approach, what I said right now, that works when you know that your team is objectively weaker, and your only chance of winning is to equalize and level out the playing field. Let's cause chaos for everybody. Let's cause those 50-50s for everybody, and we're going to win through sheer willpower and fightability.
All right, so what you've said brings it, I'm sure, very much oversimplification. But when you spoke about this, what I saw in my head was a parking garage full of Ferraris that are sent out to a county fair's demolition derby.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Very good.
That would hurt my heart. I'm not even a car person, but that would hurt my heart.
Yeah, exactly. Very good comparison. Yes, last but not least is a goalkeeper. You need a new goalkeeper, a backup keeper with literally just a proven championship exposure, playing for weaker championship teams. Somebody who's used to play in that defensive mind state all the time. So we're not going to see a sweeper keeper. We're not going to see somebody who can be your extra defender if need be. It's going to be another shot stopper who is just going to kick the balls forward, and that's it, because there will be no development from the back. Period. End of story.
Well, that seems like a pretty thorough answer to the question.
Yeah, but again, look, from that, we're going into the second question about selling shares. There was another question about, will we need to sell shares? Shall we go up, and how do we stay alive and afloat? The championship, if we go up, the championship requires a substantial increase in wage budgets and other budgets. The officials of the club were talking about 4 times the budget across the board of what they got. Not only, I mean, they were talking about wages, but it will be everything else too. Sure. So commonly from memory, minimum survival bracket, like low table survival for championship is about like 12 to 15 million pounds roughly.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but that's, I guess I'm not too far off the yeah, yeah. So in this case, you have to chase after free agents from recently relegated sides.
Okay.
Whether you're in
from these poor teams. Okay.
Yeah, whether you were in like what they did when they got Rathbone, relegated from championship, and they poached him. But that if you're in championship, that's players like lower Premier League or top of the championship teams that missed out in playoffs, and somebody who ran out of contract will be poaching on those. Veterans from championship clubs and older Premier League players who are out of contract. Short-term contracts, like 1 year, with possible extensions, because you have to minimize the risks. If you're in championship, you have a very high risk of getting relegated down, and then financial burden becomes unsustainable. So you have to mitigate that danger. That kind of reinforcement is guaranteed to be high cost no matter what. We don't have a tactical and systematic X factor of a good playing model to maximize our performance, so we only have to rely on superior players, and that's the huge risk that we got. Very. So, risk of the current path that we are on, pending, almost guaranteed there will be no tactical, no strategic shift. Mm-hmm. The current system is not designed. Well, again, I keep on repeating myself, we have no system. We literally have no system. But current way of playing that we have is designed not for ball control or structural flexibility in any way, shape, or form. When facing teams that dominate possession, which is pretty much every game, we're being dominated on possession. We always struggle to regain control. And in the championship, what we will find is we will struggle to protect the leads. So if we get a lucky lead in the early stages of the game, we will struggle to protect that lead. So, becoming that sort of 1-0 dominant team will be a lot harder than what it is right now.
Okay.
The mistakes of the individual players will cost us a lot more. They will be just the probability of us being punished for an individual mistake will be a lot higher. And because we don't have a structural pattern behind that player to correct that mistake, the problem will
go into their system. They actually have a pinball system, and as soon as it goes into their slot, we're not getting it back easily.
Yep, exactly. So that mistake will cost us more on average. A lot more. Without tactical, and strategic upgrades and any kind of tactical evolution, the team will likely be fighting for survival. Mm. It's, there is no sugarcoating around that, unless they just, there is financial limitations on how much they can spend to bring the teams in, but there were the players in, but there were teams who broke those rules, like Reading again, for example, and then they suffer heavy consequences playing. Now they can't even buy or sell players, like they can sell, but they cannot buy, and there are other implications. Yeah, so the stakes become very, very high, and the demand for high individual ceiling of each given player becomes higher as well. Okay. So the overall forecast system stays the same. Mm-hmm. Players become higher grade versions of the current players, and it will be a mass change. It will not be just 5 or 6. We pretty much need to get rid of almost everybody, like literally, and bring in the entire new team. Spending increases by a lot. Likely through further investment and equity release, maybe in about 10 to 15% equity release. Risk, we run a huge risk of overexposure to wage pressure, to wage number, the sheer amount of wages that we paying. So outcome in the championship, shall we get promoted, literally depends not on the system change in any way, shape, or form, but on successful and lucky recruitment within a very limited tactical range that we have.
Well, it's not terribly inspiring, but you've laid it out that it's extremely, logical, objective, and practical, as if I were reading a financial report, as if I were reading a technical paper on, machinery or a system. It's an organization that this is what it is, this is how it works, and this is what could be expected in this scenario that we're looking at based on what we have and what we have demonstrated over and over that we have as traits and characteristics. So those were two really great questions that we certainly appreciate.
If you don't mind, I will develop a little bit more.
Go ahead. And then I have a couple questions for you too before we move on to other things.
I wonder if players would want to play for a system that doesn't evolve. Not the players who want to grow. So a lot of people talk about Max Kluivert, for example, getting mature and growing through the system. So unfortunately, with the system that we play and the coaching that he's getting, Max had become a very one-dimensional player. He has very little build-up ability. He's not a modern defenseman currently. Because just like I said in my recent monologue, modern defenseman is as much of a creator as he's of a destroyer. In the words of one of the best defenders of all times, some people say the best defender ever, Maldini, if you have to make a challenge, if you have to make a tackle, you already lost. So defenseman has to be one of the most tactically gifted players and developed players on the pitch. And the first pass of a defender is a crucial one. So as a defender, I do not judge defenders by the amount of tackles they make. I judge them by the amount of things that they don't have to do. If you position yourself tactically correct on the pitch, you should not be tackling anybody.
Gotcha.
And you should not be picking up yellow cards. Good defender is first and foremost a smart player.
Okay? And then, so what you're talking about, technique and an elevated level of quality that comes from, training, coaching, experience, being drilled into what becomes, your personality of your presence on the pitch as a defender, as the ideal scenario.
Yeah. And look, we have some more. Sorry, I'm missing the chat, guys. I'm so sorry. There were messages in the chat, and I missed them completely.
Hold on, let me take it. If I pull it up here, if you want to keep going,
let's
see if I can get it.
Yeah, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not ignoring
well, they don't come to us for technical. Well,
for some reason, I have a technical difficulty today. Guys, I'm so sorry.
Really? Today,
I missed a whole bunch.
It's an isolated incident, and every other time has been smooth sailing. I watched the monologue, the whole "What's happening with my phone? What is hello?"
Yeah.
But no, this is an isolated incident. Okay, I'm in the live chat. Let me get to all messages.
You know what? We are live, and this is a live show. So what I'm going to do right now, guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to shake my screen. But I'm going to turn my laptop on, and I'm going to bring our YouTube stream on the separate screen so that I can actually read the messages.
So do you want me to improv while you do that, or do you want me to read you some of the ones?
Yeah. Just there's 3 people watching us. I'm assuming that's Will. That's
Nick.
It
sounded 2. The third one must be me.
Okay. So sorry about this, guys. I'm going to, and I apologize. I did not mean to be disrespectful and miss your comments.
Well,
and this is good that you.
Pretty tiny. It's pretty small on my phone. No. But let me start with the most recent ones. How about that? So Will.i.am or Will.i.am-bo. Why would anyone loan us a goal scorer?
Nobody will loan us a goal scorer, and I can tell you that we don't need a goal scorer essentially, because we need to rely on spreading the goals scored over a few players. So like we did, that's probably the only good thing about what happened this season, is that we have a few people scoring, and that was not through design; it was via luck. Because the only good goal scorer that we have, Parkinson killed in the beginning of the season. It's
metaphorically, that person is still alive. Not accusing Parky of being a murderer of people. So just before that post, Nick had one. How will Parky Ball affect our ability to get young loner stars from the Prem? I can't see them choosing us over a team playing 4-3-3 or 4-4-2.
Okay, let's go quick fire. It will affect us significantly. As a young aspiring player who's looking to go to the highest level of football, you will not be playing for Parkinson. Just because he might be a great person, which I'm sure he is. Actually, like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he is. He's probably a very good person. But playing football like that, I would not be keen to play football like that. It's
the guidance that a player would get with someone like you. Like, they have people to look out for them, and the career of that player to say, yes, this is kind of cool opportunity for exposure and whatnot, but to develop your skills or things like that for your future, that is not a path that is going to make you the best version of you. Someone is telling that player when they look at the decision. Like an agent or coach, or who would be the one they're really informed legacy footballer parent?
Well, John McAtee, there was an example of somebody spoke about him before. He chose to go to Bolton. I'm not talking about performance and what happened to the club or whatnot. I'm pretty sure that the decision was not only family related and whatnot. He looked at what kind of role he has to perform on that team, and he decided, no, I'd rather not play for a team like that. And when you're playing in a championship, and if you don't change it, because championship, the key to be successful in a championship is to come up with something original with the system and approach and the structure that carries you through and gives you a good opportunity to fight against stronger teams, those elevated teams that come down from the PL all the time. So you need something really, really smart and adjustable,
innovative.
And innovative. That's what you need. And that's when if for you as a player, especially a young player, low knee, that's when it becomes interesting, because you develop on a whole new level. You are put in the circumstance when the team is objectively weaker, but through the tactical and innovative approach of a new style of a game, you become stronger. And that develops you as a player. And that's when you can go back to your PL and say, hey, I have actually performed really well playing on the weaker side, and I became a universal player, especially, and now I can do so much more. So yeah, that's to answer that question.
Now I have one for myself, if that's okay, Ivan. So when we were speaking about, how disastrous going up to the championships and then an immediate relegation at the end of the season would be, can you tell me, from either a player or a coaching perspective, what are the psychological? So we know there's finance. We know that there will be issues of coming back down. For the team that were to come back down, which would have had some turnover because we would have replaced some of our current players for a championship season, what are some of the psychological consequences of relegation for the team that would have only been with Wrexham for one season, coming down on those 1-year contracts with the possibility of extension? What does it do to the players? To their confidence? Are they used to it? Does this happen enough as they go to different teams? How does it impact the players' mindsets when this happens? When relegation happens all the time, but in our case, if it were to happen after getting
you never get used to relegations. It's always it's a hard blow, and that's why a lot of the teams you see that are getting relegated, they get on that elevator down and they keep on going down. It really brings it really brings the team down, especially when the financial yeah, when the financial implications get on top, because you are signing people under say championship level contracts, and if you're committing for anything more than 1 year, you're stuffed, because going down there is very little or none of the parachute payments, but you have to still upkeep your bills,
your
contracts, and that's how teams collapse financially, because
so the club becomes poorer because the margins are that much narrower on the finance side, but they can't extricate themselves from the legal obligation of having to pay out what they signed up for when things were rosier financially.
Yeah, and the players get hit hard every time. Well, look, and yet talking about finances, if Wrexham get promoted, again, we're talking about wages, they double or triple or quadruple. We're looking again at somewhere around £20 million per season. You have your travel costs, you have your staffing, you have your infrastructure that you have to spend money on. There is just the survival alone ideally requires tactical flexibility, depth, quality, which currently we are lacking under Parkinson. If we do not adapt, which we will most likely will not, the footballing style, the survival will solely depend on how much we can spend and not how we coach. So when you are, as a player, you understand the pressure that's being bestowed upon you, because the survival of the club depends on you. You don't have a reliance of a coach, of a system, of something X-factorish to rely on. You don't have anything to surprise the other team with. You're only going to fight. Okay, and you have to fight consistently through the entire season. That's your only chance to survive. It's like a continuous battle, non-stop. So without any tactical genius or strategical genius to fall upon. So we have from that, what we'll have is a reliance on shareholders, media attention for funding. So we all know that, recent financial momentum and those great financial reports that we have, they largely depend on Welcome to Wrexham, celebrity ownership, merch sales. Asking you guys asked about whether we need to sell more shares in the championship level. Yes, we will. On top of that, we'll need to drastically increase the revenue through TV rights, get another ways of sponsorship. We'll have to increase the prices of tickets. So there will be some, I assume there will be some outside commercial partnerships secured probably already. There will be some grants secured already. There will be some other sponsors secured already for another projects of the club, such as building infrastructure. So there is so much more elements that have to come into play. If they don't sell more shares, they need to get private loans from somebody or from the owners again, which I don't think at this point they have enough. Well, I mean, Ryan probably has enough to loan, but not Rob. They will need to dilute the equity, so effectively bringing in new investors, or they have to increase debt obligations. So it's everything means financial risks. Everything, especially when you are waging everything upon a rather primitive way of playing. So the sweetest dream will be we get promoted and we get a new coach in, and that will give us a chance of at least get prepared for the new season. And then we have a surprise factor, because nobody knows what we're going to bring to the table, whether it's better or worse. But right now, as we stand with Parkinson in charge, the biggest danger will be overcommitting to wages, because the quality of the players that need to come in order to be successful in the championship, and by successful I mean mid-table at best.
Using our formula.
We're going to be overcommitting to wages, which a real and proven pitfall for rapidly promoted clubs. And we are
and then we have that Wrexham tax on top of that. It's a practice for any club, but then there's the Wrexham name that further exacerbates that price tag.
Well, look, if the club, absolutely right. And if we look at, for example, we found a player who is keen to join us, and we are really pushing for a multi-year contract. And based on inflated post-promotion optimism, which inevitably will be present, we potentially facing very serious financial strain if we relegated or we struggle in the championship. At best, you will financially plateau, but that's what's commonly known in the football world as a championship trap. So massive costs with uncertain return, which in the Wrexham's case we can overcome because of the publicity, because of the media, because of the bringing new investors on board, because of selling shares. But still, they need to be something more than that. Well, look at Derby County, look at Reading. They pretty much right now serve as a big red flag in the tail. They chased the Premier League dream over the years, and they took a slower approach than Wrexham, but they overspent, and then kind of collapsed when the promotion dreams didn't come to fruition.
Well, Ivan, for the love, not the glory.
Yes, sure. Who said that? Who said that? Who just signed themselves?
we are over 1 hour. I do have one more question for you, perhaps before you get into your laptop, and before maybe, if you don't have last words, we get into everything is football and the 10-minute tasting. But my question is still on the financial topic. Of course, being in the States, the economy and finance is very much on the front of my mind of late. How would the instability or increased instability of the global economy, now this might be too big a question or it might be super simple answer, I don't know. How do you see, as a businessman, what potential impact could instability or recession globally have on Wrexham AFC finances?
Oh boy. Now we moved on from football podcast
Come
to.
on, I know everything.
I'm a small business owner. But
you could guess. I have absolutely no idea. But what is the potential scenario? Because I know you've had to look at forecasting and investment and things like that on a smaller scale, with an idea of how it works in the EFL and whatnot. Do fewer people let their season tickets go? If Americans are poorer, they don't pick up those season tickets.
So my first reaction to that kind of question is that with what's going on in the U.S. right now and your glorious leadership and the amazingly wise decisions that they are making on the verge of the global war, essentially. They just single-handedly handed China world domination for the foreseeable future, which your country fought for and other Western countries fought for centuries. They pretty much just gave it away. And I would love to be a Chinese authority right now, because I don't think they believe their freaking luck that can happen so fast and so decisively. Your currency is going to get weaker. Your economy is going to get weaker, as well as the economy of another.
Who are dependent upon, who use the USD as, the template or the standard for their own economies or currencies. So it can be destabilizing, not just for us.
So the financial strain on the currencies and economies who are historically tied up to American economy and American currency is going to get greater. So basically, inflation is going to go up and money will become cheaper. So effectively, sustaining a football club, it will inevitably become harder. But at the same time, if they play their cards right and they get in touch with Chinese-backed economies and diversified investors through those areas, they might win some. So, but the thing is that
You're not wrong.
We're shifting. They will need to play with the times, and the entire world will be shifting from American from American dominant financial streams to China dominant financial streams. If you do it in time, you're probably going to win some. So, and that's, being in New Zealand, we're so close to China over here, and now looking at what's happening, that's the only way for all New Zealand to go, because America, basically nobody can trust America anymore. It's just as Ukraine, as you pretty much dropped your agreement signed in 1991 with Ukraine and left Ukraine to the wolves. I will not trust a single word of American government anymore when it comes to military support, any kind of warranties or guarantees.
You are not alone.
I will take my money out of American field as soon as possible. Yep. So talk to Elon Musk. He has just successfully lost 71% of his sales and revenues. That's great business, buddy.
That's impressive.
Awesome.
I mean, it's if you're going to lose, that is an impressive loss.
Yeah. So that's some good people you got aligned with.
The best. Carry on. Okay, so we don't have that. I see a new post since the questions I asked you. So are you logged into the computer? Do you want to say something else, or do you want to move into the everything is football in 10-minute tasting?
Basically, let me finish up on. There's one thing that I probably want to sort of to sum it up a little bit.
Okay.
We're essentially, whether we get promoted or not, we sooner or later, it's like a delayed penalty call in hockey.
Okay.
We will face the consequences of poor football, of not future-proof football. Sooner or later, that will happen.
Football always wins. That was
football always wins. Yeah. It's so basically, if you guys follow ice hockey at all, in the 60s when USSR came to play Canada in a series of games, Canadian hockey was stunned by the approach of the Soviet team. They were playing combinational hockey. They were not playing dump and chase. So dump and chase is an old principle of playing hockey where you dump the puck into the opposition half. It's crossing the blue line, and then you forecheck and pretty much fight for the puck on the boards behind the opposition's goal. What Soviets very ineffective too, because it's literally it's dump and chase. That's the terminology for it. So what Soviets did, they played combinational play. When they did not set up a good pattern and passage of play before they crossed the blue line, they would literally turn around with the puck, go back behind their own net, and start from the beginning. And they would keep doing that up until they set a good play up.
It's like a roundabout. You miss your exit, you go back.
Yeah. Hence the term recycling the ball, recycling the puck. So it all started. So hockey and football, if you want to get better at understanding football, get better at understanding hockey, and the other way around. So that's what I did. I coached both and I played both. And it's such a beautiful combination of those two sports. Okay. So what we do being Wrexham right now, we're playing dump and chase. Okay, so we're dumping the ball, dumping the puck in the opposition half, and we're chasing it, hoping to create something from that, from that particular struggle at the opposition's end. All right, so Wrexham current model, what we have right now, works because we can overpower smaller teams. And sometimes now, it becomes very unpredictable as we go, because smaller teams also learn and they have more ideas than we do. So, but with individual quality, with physicality, in the championship, those advantages, they will evaporate rather quickly. Teams are better organized, they're faster, they're smarter. If coaching doesn't improve and the playing model isn't upgraded to a substantial level, we already don't have much control of the games, but we will lose the control of the games even further. We will leak goals under pressure. So right now we can sustain pressure because we have such a high caliber of players. We can absorb pressure over prolonged periods of time. In the championship, that will not be the case against most rivals. The burnout, mental burnout, and physical burnout will be faster, and that onset will happen faster. The bottom line is that the system is not built to evolve. It's built to dominate weaker sides and not to adapt against better sides, but do more, do more of the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that old saying: drink coffee, do stupid things faster with more energy. So it's that's.
Maybe because I just don't drink coffee with more energy. I was unprepared. For that, Ivan. But no, especially if we're going up, I mean, we will be the weaker team. There is no ideal combatant for us if our formula, rather than a system, is designed for weaker sides. We go up to the championship, we're the weaker side. Everybody else is stronger. So that, even on paper, doesn't work. But, I guess if we buy more expensive players, I mean, we can prolong this correction. What almost seems like, from a physics standpoint, like if we were talking about science and different materials, there is an inevitable spring back. It's going to snap back like a rubber band, that we are straining and straining our logistics, our finances, our capacity from technical or school of thought on football. And we are straining at some point, either through a variable or the tension on the rubber band breaks. There's a snapback or a break. Neither one is good because it's so dynamic in either direction. It's so fast. It's not controlled. It's not something you can prepare for. So fucking yikes, man. I think that kind of illustration helps me grasp why it would be so catastrophic. Is, again, when we talk about distance is time, and time is we're not just on the field when we play and have the midfield to the front men to be faster in that little spot of the disruption, but within the scope of an entire season. Now we're talking about an entire season in the championship, where we are going in knowing that we are not constructed to overcome the challenges that we know we can identify and are going to be there. And then it becomes, how do you mitigate what could be the inevitable? Is likely the inevitable. We can't say for sure. We might stay up by one spot or something. We might, but it's going to be rough because
we're not designed.
We're not designed.
It's going to be rough.
Change is going to have to happen, whether we want it or not. It will have to happen in some way. It'll be forced upon us if we don't do it.
If you have problems in League One, it's more like, hey, you have a flat tire, you pull over, you replace the tire, you carry on. The problem is that if you're gonna have problems in the championship, it's like both engines. You are flying a 2-engine plane. Both engines are on fire, and you're going down.
Well, so at least that is a helicopter. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. And that's so.
The only thing that could be worse.
Fixing an ongoing crisis in the championship through the season, even if you get rid of your coach and bring in another one, is very, very difficult. Very difficult. So that's the risk. So the best we can hope for is just survival in the first. But the sooner the management wakes up to the or like, look, there is another option. They bring in a very modern thinking assistant coach to work alongside Parky, who is extremely good at operating alongside a stubborn old school guy like Parky, but at the same time who will be able to change his ways and adapt slowly but surely new approaches into his game. So that's an option too, but that's even harder, to be honest, because
he'd have to be authorized to be given the authority and legitimacy to do that, which seems like something that could be taken away at any point in time if somebody gets their feelings hurt or whatever.
Yeah, and in simple terms, it's just very hard to find somebody who's that progressive, forward-thinking, patient, but a ultimate kiss ass at the same time to work successfully alongside a coaching team like that.
Well, that would make it worthwhile. If they had that capacity, why wouldn't they be the head coach making their own name at some other place, a lower level club or something like that, where they had complete control, rather than let me challenge myself with extra headaches Well, maybe they're masochistic.
Yeah.
Is M is for me. Like that's the one where you hurt yourself, right? Masochistic as opposed to. Anyways, not sure, but
will it say please make that coffee shirt ASAP.
Are we ready for everything is football, Ivan? We're an hour and 20 minutes into this.
Yeah, but
okay,
it feels like 10 minutes, honestly. It's been so much fun.
Sure. We're talking about your favorite subjects.
I missed you.
Football. Well, thank you. I missed football and hockey. I mean, this could end up being a Star Wars trilogy.
You know? Well, and global financial state too. So yeah.
Well, that one I would have to tap out on for sure. So, folks, if you are joining us for the first time, we have a game called Everything is Football, and it involves me presenting Ivan with random objects because I feel that his knowledge of the sport is so extensive and pervasive that he could look at anything in a space or in a room and be able to use it as a teaching tool and a model for how it applies to football and football philosophy. There are no limitations on the interpretation of how he sees an item fitting into football. That's part of what's made it fun. I have yet to be disappointed. And the challenge of increasingly obscure or consistently obscure items that I hope to trip him up on have never yet worked. Because the depth with which this man has lived with football is so deep. so deep. But I'm going to keep trying.
Stop. Stop.
The first of the 3 items today is an ice cube tray. I'm holding up a green and white plastic and silicone ice cube tray that you would put in your freezer. Ivan, how is an ice cube tray football?
Well, ice cube tray reminds me of playing on hot days because they basically what you do, you just you put an ice cube in your mouth every time you have a chance to go to the sideline, and you just play with the ice cube in your mouth for a while.
Wow.
Like that that helps you like control the temperature. Like when you're playing and it's like 40 Celsius outside and it's really hot. That's what we used to do.
Good grief.
Like they will make when you're playing in a hot environment, there will be allowance from a referee to have a break every now and then. Like when the ball goes out of bounds, you will get a chance, and you'll run up to your technical area, and you can grab an ice cube, and just like that kind of silicone box reminds me of those. Like you just snap it and put one.
Which to me, the first thing I think of is somebody choking on their ice cube as they're running around playing. But I guess
it melts so fast. Like by the time you get back to your position, and it's like the only thing that reminds you of. It's like your morale had slightly improved, and you have a cold tongue. That's about
just
it.
Just time to go run and get another one. Okay. Well, that's a great answer. Thank you, Ivan. Our second item for Everything is Football is a pack of playing cards. Now, this one happens to be the Swordswomen, which I got probably during the pandemic from the Ravenswood Academy, which is out of Fort Worth. It's somewhere in Texas. And so some of the cards have information about, histories, female warriors and what they achieved. But as you can see, it also has, more traditional clubs, spades, things like that. So, Ivan, how is a deck of cards football?
Deck of cards reminds me of what Wrexham is doing now. We are playing a game of either a 52 pickup or or a blackjack.
Either way, it's gambling. Well, I guess 52 pickup isn't gambling.
It's gambling. It's gambling. Yeah. So that's a direct connection.
I thought for sure you were going to have some sort of crazy drill where like the coach comes out and throws, different cards down, like a, what do they call them? A poker run with motorcycles, but you do it in soccer or football.
No.
Okay. Well, Thank you, Ivan. That was an excellent answer for these. And if anyone else is interested, there are other kinds of these custom card packs made by the Ravenswood Academy, which is actually a sword art or other kinds of martial arts, but mostly focused on blades down in Texas. That is very inclusive of women into these disciplines as instructors and students. So if that's the kind of thing you might be interested in or supporting, go check them out. All right. Number 3, excellent. Our third item and final item for Everything is Football. And I don't think it'll all fit on the screen. I'm going to try.
Okay.
It's a hula hoop. So I'm trying to find the best way. Okay. So Ivan, how is a hula hoop football?
We used hula hoops, not that large, actually that large. We used hula hoops.
We went way longer than I thought. Okay, so maybe it just looks bigger than it is. Does this camera make my hoop look big? It may be. Well, I mean, it is a little big.
My association with hula hoop and football, we used hula hoops when we were practicing defense. So one of the things that you learn as a pretty much from young years at the academy, or any age for that matter, is that first thing you do as a defender, for example, when you practice defend, is you don't let your the person that you're working with, the person that you're guarding, you don't let them turn with the ball. So when they receive the ball, if they're facing the wrong way, being away from your goal, you don't turn them, and then you track them. So we used to play like that. There were drills when there would be a forward and you as a defender in one hula hoop, and you run around. That's how you learn how to track your defender, and you always make sure that a defender is crossing the line between a forward and attacking player and your goalkeeper. So and then that's how you learn. So hula hoops are usually quite flexible, the ones that we used, but and then when the person receives the ball, you don't let them turn with the ball, so you force them to play back and back and sideways. Yeah, so and also hula hoops are used for targets. Yeah, you put them.
All right. Well, multi-purpose then. Well, thank you, Ivan. That was another insightful and excellent answer. Folks, that was Everything is Football. Are you ready for our 10-minute tasting, Ivan? We have more pieces than we do matches left, assuming that we don't go into the playoffs. So if folks are joining for the first time and aren't aware, the 10-minute tasting is an opportunity for Ivan to watch a predetermined 10-minute segment of a match instead of enduring an entire 90-minute match plus added time, which he finds to be rather predictable and not fulfilling. So what we do is we have our Tim Pot, since we are a Tim Pot Club as Wrexham, and inside I have 10-minute segments on little pieces of paper. I will draw a random one, and next stream he will tell us the results of how that 10-minute segment related to the end result of the match, which should be particularly interesting given our lack of predictability right now. So the segment of time is minute marks 41 through 50. That's usually a pretty good spot when people are screaming for, and if there's any added minutes at the half, he has to watch those too. But people are always screaming for subs at half that don't come. So,
so you have been officially crowned as a queen of the props. Currently in the chat.
Well, thank you. I humbly accept that responsibility.
That is so true. No, okay, cool. Those are good minutes. Yeah, I'll watch them.
Okay, well, folks, it's been a longer one than we expected, and hopefully we'll wrap it up pretty soon because I have to pee. I have to go. But I can hold it long enough if there's anything worth expressing or final thoughts.
Well, look, I can stay a little bit longer. Just wanted to check with the guys in the chat because it's quite active. Sure. 2 or 3 people are in the chat. If you boys and girls, if you have any questions, type them Tap them up right now. We can stay for a few more minutes, and I can keep on answering those, and we can let Ruby go because it's been quite a long show.
I am hydrated, which is something all of us should strive for.
Yeah. No. Or you can turn your video and audio off and then come back if you want to, but completely up to you.
Probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't make me laugh. My God, Ivan, please don't make me laugh right now. Okay, everyone. It's been great. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ruby. I'll see you soon. All right. Cool. So before we shut this down, if you guys have any more questions or you want to talk about anything in particular, we still have a few people watching. Type them up if you have anything to share. And I missed a few comments in the chat. Just checking what I have missed here. I've got to run anyway. I've got some work to finish up. Yep, cool. Thanks, Nick. Thank you so much. All good. And let's see what the next couple of games bring. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Hopefully you don't bump into any more protector issues. Surge protector, I mean. How will Parky Ball affect our ability to get young? Well, yeah, we spoke about that. And Carol, Hunter saying that he made peace with all the scenarios. Same here, actually. Like that's why I'm quite chill about it. I don't worry about it at all, whether it's up or down. It's going to be an interesting development anyway. So it's just entertaining to watch, kind of a thing. That's sort of stepping away from ball playing part and just purely as a spectator. Cool. So no, it looks like everybody is satisfied with the show. No more questions. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your support, and we will see you. We'll see you soon. I might, depending on how the game goes tomorrow, I might pop in and say a few words after this. Thank you all so much. Have a good one. We'll talk soon.